Hey guys, welcome to day 9 of our 30-day drawing adventure. And it is an adventure. Yesterday, I was really frustrated. Hopefully, I did a good job of not showing it too much, but I recorded that whole drawing and got done and realized I had no audio. I hadn't been capturing the audio, and I was so frustrated because I thought the drawing went fairly well, and we talked about some good things, and I had to try to remember everything I said and record a voiceover over it. 23 minutes of video. So I'm still frustrated because you can probably tell because uh, the whole point of doing that was to kind of talk you through a drawing. So I'm going to do another live drawing or real time drawing with you today. I think these are good anyways because they help you develop your ability to uh, go from a blank sheet to a finished entry into a sketchbook. Using some drawing skills helps me kind of talk through real life instead of just in theory. Now I've got wind pushing me around. See, this is an adventure. Nobody knows what you're going to get, including me here. But I'm loving it. I'm loving that you guys are joining me. I think it's great for us to see some challenges because if you're going to make a habit of anything, there's going to be days you feel like it and you want to do it, and there's going to be days you don't. And one of the important key things to developing a habit is to do it regularly and get it something you get used to doing. So today you're gonna need a pencil again, paper, sketchbook again, and I will throw the drawing up on the screen again, or the photo, and we will draw a photo. I took this photo this morning, so this is gonna be exciting. So, won't you join me to draw? Okay, gonna do this drawing I of a photo I took this morning of a beautiful sunrise, and I think it'll be a great combination of using some of the principles we've been talking about and not a terribly long drawing. I'm not going to get caught up in too much of the detail that's hard to capture. Really, the beauty of this photo is in the color, which we aren't going to be doing. We're just going to be structure, but there's some useful structure in this that I think will be helpful for uh, the purposes of laying things out. So if you notice in the um, photo, I am the photo is basically divided up half uh, horizontally. It's got a line across it, and it's about halfway. That's not a great composition for a photo. Uh, some reflection photos do, which this has some in it. There is some of the sky reflecting into the water, and that's a big piece of this photo. So some reflection photos look nice when they're split in two like that, evenly. But normally, compositionally, the way a photo or a drawing is laid out, you don't want it directly in the middle, the line splitting it. But it is in this one, so we're going to kind of lay a light line right across the middle. Remember, we are doing light searching lines, and we are uh, kind of laying things out before we start putting any kind of darkness into it. And we're checking our measurements. So if you need to measure with a piece of paper or something to find your halfway point, you can do that. It doesn't have to be exactly halfway. In fact, it's probably better if it isn't. Mine's probably a little higher up than it is. It's closer to the top than the bottom. So, and now we are just laying out some structure. So we notice that the palm trees on the right side above that kind of horizon line, which turns into kind of like there's a little rocky ledge that follows the shore back there. Um, that's all horizontal and level, and then there's this kind of shoreline that rises up from about a third of the photo in, or from the right. It kind of starts taking a steeper curve up to about halfway up the right side top half, half of half, so about a quarter of the way down from the top. And I'm going to kind of lay out this light line just to kind of lay where those palm trees are at. Also, we noticed that about just left of halfway is some hotel or something that kind of sticks up a little bit into the horizon. I'm going to lay that in there. And then we don't really need to lay out these trees on the, or docks or trees or whatever that is. I can't even make that out in the distance. And now, one key thing is we're going to put a kind of a compound shape and angle into this drawing, which is the water line, the line the edge of the water makes, and it starts at about halfway or just to the right of that kind of hotel or whatever that is over there. I think it is a hotel, and we are going to curve that and kind of come to about a third of the composition, kind of where that, just past where these trees kind of rise up, comes over, and then it comes down at an angle that is like, see how I use, well, you can't see. You can only see what I bring over. But the angle of that line is, once it makes the curve there, it it more or less makes a straight line to about exactly halfway in the photo. And that is our rough, believe it or not, that is our rough layout of this drawing. And then now there's one other, kind of two other important lines which start way back up here. It's where that the wave, kind of the foam of the wave, is coming in. And the top line is mostly straight, has a little bump out early on, but it makes this line that comes, honestly, it comes about almost a quarter of the way up from the bottom of the whole photo, and comes across and has a little bump right there, and then and does this like tight little curve right at the end. If you look close, it's a tight little curve, and then another line comes out right below that bump and makes another angle that's about half of what the other one made. And it's not real straight. It is straight overall, but it's like got bumps to it because it's a foam kind of wave washing up. So now now and honestly, this one that comes up, a quarter of the way in, it gets wide at the end. So, and that's like some kind of, like, I think it's a reflection or it's a shadow of what's up there. And what I really hope from this drawing with you guys is that you see how easily you can make a nice little sketch of a moment on a vacation or whatever, that becomes a pretty valuable, at least to you, memory and place, in your sketchbook. And I have, oh man, maybe hundreds of these kind of little sketches that, like we've talked about before. One thing is, so what I'm doing now, I'll just talk about it, pause a minute on the why and tell you the what. I am kind of drawing detail in now, and we've got the structure of the drawing laid out, and now I'm laying detail in to this drawing, and I'm putting, and one nice thing about landscapes, one wonderfully nice thing about landscapes is, uh, you nobody can really say if, you did a good job or not, because it's not like it's has to have a likeness. I mean, unless someone lives here and they're like that hotel or that palm tree isn't really there or whatever, no one can really argue with. And one thing you're gonna notice is this is a sketchbook drawing. I'm not going for gallery level uh, stuff here, but I am maintaining these light searching lines to kind of find where these palm trees and these other trees are at before I start getting heavy and dark into them. And now I'm kind of filling in some dark, sketchy uh, spaces. It's not really shading, it's more drawing. This is a silhouette, so I guess it is shading. I mean, I'm darkening it because it's dark in the drawing, but it's also structure. And I think it, because we aren't doing color on this, it's going to give a nice little contrast, some contrasting stuff here. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to approximate trees here, palm trees that are way more complex than the quick little shapes I'm drawing, but I think it'll work. I think people will understand with some little things like this, uh, that they look good as just darkened in. And I think there's a spot right over here where one of the trunks kind of shows through. That'll be helpful. Sometimes these little details help the any viewers you ever have. Now, this isn't a sketchbook, so for me, this kind of thing is not really as much for any other person to see, but more for as these get a little closer, I add a little more detail to these to this kind of palm area. And now I got this little dark like ridge line in here, uh, and a thing on the horizon here that has kind of give it some little texture. You can tell it's trees or whatever. This hotel back here, it's way down there, so it's like we don't even have to have the viewer know what that is. It can just be a bump on the horizon. And then this one is going to get from skinny to a little thicker over here. So the big deal is not so much that you have a drawing from my morning on my vacation here, but more that you see what you can do when you are somewhere or even at home and you want to do an entry in your sketchbook and you have a cool you're going to start being like obsessed with cool moments and pictures and stuff because I just predict it's going to happen. Uh, because you're going to be like, ooh, that could be a cool drawing, and and hopefully you're going to stop. And now here's something else: these these buoys, these swim buoys that are out in the water here, they make a line, and if you notice, they get closer and closer and closer together. Pay attention to where they get closer, what the angle of that line is, and their shape as they're kind of just little dots. And you really need to kind of be careful with something like that, just because it's going to make for a better drawing to have that in there like that and not have it just be real carelessly placed. It'll look like swim buoys, I think. I'm not sure if it will or it won't, but either way, you won't be the reason it doesn't. It'll just be that it's hard to see. Now, I'm going to add just a little texture and shading into this water right here, um, because it's not really just a darkened line. It's like a ruffling of the water, roiling of the water, I think is a proper term. Um, what do I know? It gets a little more consistent and darker over here as it gets closer. You get more detail. Um, and uh, one thing that can help you is to give a little some of the details right behind that edge of that water, just so people can kind of see that that's what. And then you're gonna have to do a little bit of just. I don't love how I think I inadvertently made that shore look like it gets bigger and comes in closer over here. I made it too big um, over here, so I might take a little of this just by it's really messing with the perspective of that spot. But I'm gonna work on this a little bit. Yep. Yeah, and I'm just making a little video here. I'm doing a drawing. This is just a sketch of the sunrise this morning. Yeah, no, yeah, I'm talking to you. So, uh, and yeah, just a little from this morning with the ocean. So, a buddy of mine back home, this is one of my favorite stories. He lived next to this, grew up this Italian woman next door, and I wish I could remember her name. Babysat for him, something, blah blah blah. Or she paid them. They designed, paid him, and she did pottery. Gave him this piece of pottery. They threw the change in it for years. She becomes famous. They throw this pottery in between the seat of them, go out to wherever she is. It's worth like 25 grand. Oh my goodness. That stuff happens. Huh? That happens. Oh my, more people, than you would think. Yeah. And my buddy's like, hey, my dad, my mom, because you know they are, but they put their change in it for crying out. It's rolling around in the seat of the car all the way there. Marge, here, grab the vase. Huh? So that was just someone stopping by saying hi, and they know that when I'm down here, I often draw and paint, so they stopped to see what I was doing. I'm almost done. Uh, there is not going to be anything about this that's going to be earth-shattering and amazing. It's just a little drawing of. I'm going to put a little edge on this bottom edge on this because it's there of this other wave coming in here and uh, um, yeah, and then I'm not going to do much with the clouds other than make some general like the lines that come toward the sky here because it's kind of coming out in angles. So just it's kind of coming out from the center in some little patterns, and it's and I'm going to date this. And right on here, 30-day drawing adventure. And it's something I will remember, and it is nothing too fancy, but it's a capture of the moment, and I think it's fun. That's a great way to learn how to do a drawing structure and make a quick note about where you've been and what you've done. So, um, yes, thank you for joining me in this. Okay, well, thank you for joining me to draw today. My whole goal today was just to show you that you can sit down for a few minutes and draw something that is something in your sketchbook or that you have that you did that is a note from where you were and start to practice and use those drawing skills of these angles and dimensions of size relationships and the shapes that are there to start creating some very um, worthwhile time spent drawing, and it's healthy. It's a great thing to do wherever you're at, morning, night, home, not home. It's just a very healthy habit to be in to make drawings and sketches. So Plus, you're going to keep getting better and better the more you do. So, thanks again for joining me, and we will see you tomorrow.